service. Hey everyone, welcome to Chef Sense. I'm your host, Chef Massey. In the studio, we've got Chef Laura Lipoufski. Laura, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have our past where we've worked through it. And, to be honest, I have a lot of respect and appreciation for you as a chef, and a very valuable human being. As an example, just share with everyone your story, where you came from as a chef. You've grown up in this area.
Well, my background, I come from a farm family. My family, my cousins own Bittersweet Farm, which is, on Barker Road on the Pittsfield-Richmond line. Mm-hmm. And I have other cousins that have a farm on Tamarack, a little past Bosque. Okay. And my entire family lived, between Bosque and the airport. That's where I grew up, and we were a farm family. Mm-hmm. My grandparents, my grandmother made dinners every single night of the week. Every Sunday we had the big family dinners. They had a full functioning farm. Okay. My grandmother also was very avid in the community. Okay. She worked as a volunteer for the senior center. Okay. And she worked as a cafeteria lady in the school system, in the hospital. So she was in kitchens. On my dad's side, my grandfather was a chef. He used to work at the Busy Bee. A lot of people who are Berkshire natives will recognize that restaurant name. But cool. He was Italian.
Yes, yeah.
He was Italian. His name was Aldo. And, he taught us how to make meatballs, and, everything was centered around food and his background. I also have a strong Native American background. Yep. My grandmother was Native American, my dad's mother. Mm-hmm. I do continue to research that. Yep. So the specs of that are not I don't have all the information, but I know I do have a strong Native American background that I have been looking into to
which
find
is awesome. Yeah, I know you've had that. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But growing up, everything was centered around food. I was like the baby sitting on the countertop that everybody walked by and gave a spoonful of this and a spoonful of that too. And
okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed food, always. Right. And my grandfather was really big into the farming. Okay. And he would pickle, he would make his own pickles. We all loved Papa's pickles. That was the big, I think there's actually probably still some down in that root cellar.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
He made his own root beer. We all enjoyed his root beer. And then jams, jellies, sauces, everything. Yeah. Always had a jar of something.
Very cool.
And, had a whole root cellar full of all kinds of stuff. And my grandmother was, heavy into the baking.
Okay, because and we'll get into that too, because you really, you're in both sweet and savory worlds, for sure.
And I grew up probably with the equally amount of both.
Wow, very cool.
So, generally I grew up just like any, teenager. I, was a little rebellious at times. I got through school, and I like to ski. Everybody knows that about me. Oh, yeah. Grew up right next to Bosque, and that's where we spent our evenings and our weekends, and that was what we did. We went skiing, we had snowmobiles, we lived that kind of country life.
Which is great here.
I have so much gratitude for that lifestyle. To see, what goes on in the world and to know that I had that growing up it's priceless.
That's quite a bit of a substantial foundation for you. So taking that, growing up on the farm and having your hands in with that and then going into the kitchen,
it was always what was natural to me. Being in kitchens and we had a pretty big family, so being around people, I was always comfortable with that. And I started young. I was a dishwasher. I went right from 15 years old, washing dishes, helping out in kitchens, to cooking, to prepping, and it was just my comfortable world. Yep. In high school, at Taconic at that time, you could pick what you wanted to go in. They had business program, college prep, or vocational. Mm-hmm. And I was in business because I enjoyed that. But I also, got involved into food trades too. Yeah, yeah. And then I did co-op my last year.
Oh, okay.
And I went to school half a day, and then I worked the other half of the day because I always enjoyed working. Not a stranger to that.
No, you're not at all. I mean, constant, So you work your way up, culinary school and that sort of thing. How was that background for you?
So out of high school, I went to BCC for nursing.
Okay.
So, at that time it was, it was 91. Mm-hmm. So the big push was nurses, healthcare. It's job security. You go into healthcare, you get a job, be a nurse. Job security for, the rest of your life. But I tried that.
Yeah. Wow.
And I kept going back to food.
Yep.
Because it was what I was comfortable with. And I think as chefs and as food professionals, we're creative. We're, borderline, maybe some of us artists, and we just can't help it.
No.
And it's one of those things, it just keeps steering you back to what you're comfortable with and what kind of, lights you up. Being creative, being able to create things, and I need that in my life, and the healthcare profession, even though it has its pluses and minuses, and I don't know how those people do it every day. And it's the hardest job in the world, but it just wasn't. It wasn't what made me tick. So kept going back to food, and I started out working for a nursing home as a dietary aide.
Wow.
And then worked under a pretty good cook who, took me on, and she showed me how to cook, and I started learning basics from there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then spent a couple years doing that. And then I got an opportunity at Canyon Ranch.
Yep.
And I ended up going to Canyon Ranch, but working in the bake shop, which was different for me.
Yeah.
So it was a need for someone in pastry.
Yep.
And I wanted the job to kind of challenge myself because I always kind of do that. I'm not scared to just jump out of the box and just try something else.
No.
So that's what I did. I took a leap, and I really enjoyed, baking a pastry. And I spent many years doing that, ended up being the pastry chef. And then I kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock because what I started seeing as a lady chef is a lot of the, lady chefs that I knew and I worked with at the time were having problems moving up into higher positions.
A little bit of the glass ceiling.
Yes.
Yep.
So I started thinking about that, and I just couldn't understand why. I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous, because spending so many years in the food industry, I knew, I personally knew so many different things about it. Like I could offer so much.
Yeah.
So the corporate chef at the time took me on under his wing.
Yep.
And he had a culinary leadership program that he was launching, which was awesome because
he's amazing. Yeah.
He's amazing. It was chefs from all the different facilities that he gathered together that he had believed in and thought that, they were very hopeful, for future leaders, and put us all together. And he had some of us going all over the map.
Yeah, working at the different locations. And Scott, that's Scott Uline, which he is an amazing individual and kind of like a parenting father figure, I think, to a number of us. So
it was an amazing program. And landed me in, I was down in Aventura, Florida, working for the Mango King of Miami. Chef Allen, his name was. Awesome guy. Crazy kitchen, the craziest kitchen I've ever worked in.
Yep.
I mean, they had all the old French burners,
really?
French burner,
the
flames were there. And they had a real, wood fire stove in there.
Okay.
It was off the hook. And it wasn't like a big, beautiful state-of-the-art kitchen. It was kind of a smaller, restaurant that but was really up with the times. Yeah. So Scott's placement with people was kind of perfect because he was taking people that were good at their jobs and good at what they did, and he was putting them in positions to challenge themselves or see an entire different view on things. Right. So I appreciated that. I appreciate him to this day. I honestly say if it wasn't for him taking me under his wing. Yes. And, showing me that I could do it. I could move up. I could be whatever I wanted to do, that I probably wouldn't be as successful as I am today. Right. Yeah. And I also went to Las Vegas with him. Okay. And we opened up Canyon Ranch in the Venetian. Yep. And that was a big project. It was a big project. Yep. And, me being from such a small, I'm like little Berkshireite, Yeah. I'm out in Las Vegas. It's the big time. Yeah, well, but you're Laura Lipoufski, so,
that can bite it.
He did let me rent a car and drive
Okay.
out to the southern tip there to see the Grand Canyon. So, but it was a great program, and I think he changed a lot of lives through that program.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
You know, and
not sure if he knows that.
He is so humble and he's always working ahead. He's always light years ahead. He never stays in one position long.
No.
He's always thinking about what's next. And I think that Scott, he thinks that way as well when he builds a team. He sees a foundation and he goes, there's something there. And as a mentor and as a chef, we have a responsibility to own that part of our career path. Mm-hmm. If you're really wanting to be a difference maker in our industry.
Yeah. And
I think that's the special part about Scott, that, you know, he would give you the tough love, but I tell you what, he would be right there with you doing, you know, 400 or 500 covers and you're just banging it out. So, and he didn't care about, you know, men, women, any of that. No. What he cared about is, you know, he's kind of like a super coach.
Yeah.
You know, he built teams that lasted.
Yeah.
And he also was interweaved with that, you know, and I think many of us coming out of that system, on my side of being Indigenous, we have that type of philosophy as well, where we nurture and we have a great responsibility to those that we're privileged to lead at all levels. I don't care if it's in the dish room to whatever, we're committed like that. Yeah. And that philosophy, I think, empowered us. Some of those that came up in the industry that were given the tough love, and, you know, we didn't have the culinary school, but then all of a sudden, you know, you become that leader and you surround yourself with all of this talent, and it's pretty awesome. So
it is pretty awesome. And, you know, that I think that's, you know, like I did take that from him too. It's like strengths and weaknesses. I say it all the time. I'm like, you're handed an entire dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
And everybody has strengths. Everybody has weaknesses. Yeah. And it's like just to figure out the balance there and what you contribute to the team, you know, being your strengths and weaknesses, because nobody's perfect. You know, we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. So it's just trying to get it all to work in harmony.
Yeah. And I think it's a pretty magical thing when you can do that.
Yeah.
That servant leadership style really fosters huge gains.
Definitely.
And it's a replenishing system.
Yeah.
It's not to, you know, throw things and, you know, give it the old duck and cover.
I've seen that too.
Yeah. Right. So
I've seen some blenders fly across the room in my time.
Well, and I have to say too, is your drive in coming up, and actually, let me see what I wrote. I've got, for Laura, right? I got the Laura list over here. I've got drive, lead by example, determination, constructive feedback, loyalty, and charisma.
Thank you.
So, you know, those are things in working with you. As, you know, when I was the executive chef at Canyon Ranch there in Lenox, I was really grateful for you in that time, because your mentality is that. All of those things that I mentioned. And I also want to say nurturing. You know, you're very good at putting the team puzzle together. And I think what is great is that you lead by example, but you manage up and you manage down.
Yep.
It's constructive and it's detailed and it's all heart, man. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, what I always say is, I mean, you're never too good to do any part of the job. And, you know, there could be days where everything's wonderful and you don't have much to do. And then there could be days where you're, you know, like, especially if you're running a kitchen, you know, yesterday it was my steamer.
Right.
You know, and I had to manage that, and I had a flood in the kitchen, and, you know, there's days like that are just like, why am I doing this? You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, with every job, I mean, it's not any one day is going to be perfect.
Right.
So, you know, you just have to take it as it comes and just roll with the punches. And, you know, there have been times in my life where I was in survival mode.
Yep.
So I'm not a stranger to that. If you have, you know, those hard times in your life, definitely benefits you in a kitchen, because you're gonna have those times in a kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
we had internal change going on there that we wanted to be an example to the brand, right? I mean, you know, from remodeling the bistro restaurant and redoing the dining room and demo kitchen and the, you know, Cafe Jardin outside, and doing so many updates. when you have that part that you're building, and then you're building your team, you've got culinarians coming in and they're there for a short amount of time and you're moving them around. And, you've also got future stuff, or you've got events outside, and you're like, okay, now we may be short staffed. We've got this change. We've got these things going on. Now this, weekend, we've got the Tanglewood Food and Wine Festival for, 400 to 600 people. And I want to give an example in that, because as we work together, it was like, okay, these sous chefs, these cooks, let's get them involved with working together as building the menu, and there were times we'd be jamming and, I'd look over at you and be like, Laura, I don't know about that. And you're like, let's go, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
That's right.
So we would, bang out production. We were working through everything hands on and shifting, and
and you inherited me, because I was on maternity leave.
Well, there was that. Yeah, there was that. But
I heard new chef. Okay.
That was the beginning.
I was
wasn't
like, good.
That was the beginning. Yeah.
I love change. Change doesn't bother me. Never scares me.
No.
I embrace it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm back in, a week or two, I'll meet him. And of course I had some of the guys, texting me and this and that, giving me information. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm the type of person that I need to learn for myself. So I'm going to come back. And, I heard a lot of great things too. So I was like, oh, this is good, but everybody's always, especially when it's the exec chef.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody's always, oh, what are we going to have?
Right.
And I came back and I think we just jive so well.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally.
And I was like, this guy's great. I mean, the energy, the exuberance on the menus and just all the, great ideas that were coming to the surface. I'm like, but Canyon Ranch was really lucky to have you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, really I do. But and again, I think it's the team, we're always about the team. And I think that's where us pushing each other or fighting through those moments. And, just with everyone, you may not have the privilege of having an executive sous chef. You may have just a couple sous chefs or a sous chef. But, really for me, being blessed to have, a few executive sous chefs over my many years, Laura, you're the best. And I really,
thank you.
I appreciate you. And as I kind of shared before, there's these moments where we're pushing and pulling, and even when you did move on, Nick Colleen was there.
Yeah.
And Nick was just another burst of the next generation, right? But to have you in there and you fostered all the way around, and it didn't matter whether it was bake shop or the next, the remodel of the restaurant or anything like that.
I'm a big believer in cross training. It's like, I think, a well-oiled machine, like a good kitchen, generally, you can take your line cook and he can go bake some muffins, or you can take your baker and they can go work the pantry, or you can even take your dishwashers, which I did at one point in time, and teach them how to make bread. Right. I mean, I think, you're only as good as the team that you're managing or that you're leading, it's like, so why not make them the best, and give them those opportunities and challenges too, because some people really thrive on that.
Yep.
And there's some people that don't, but it's just finding out, who you got and where they want to be and what their inspirations and what they aspire to be as well.
Right. Well, and I think it fosters, like I said, going in internally, sending them to demo kitchen, with people that wanted to learn. You're investing in your team. They're getting an opportunity of growth.
Yeah.
And some like it and some don't. The other smart thing in management is if there's a call out. Right? And down goes the schedule. So
it's like the chessboard, you're like, there's a call out. Okay, where we moving? We're moving this one. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm still dealing with that, and it's not an easy thing, especially when you have your pawns on the board and one falls off. It's like everybody's got to work together and fix that and keep that, rolling.
Yeah, and it's tough, I mean, whether it's a kitchen of 5 or a kitchen of 50 with multiple outlets, mean, it hurts, and I think that's where that servant leadership style, you have this mindset of just coexisting and surviving.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it benefits us in our industry. But the other thing I want to appreciate with you too is that you are very good at boundaries.
Yeah.
That also taught me too, because you've also pulled me aside, but like, Jim, I think you've done enough here. Right? So you'll help redirect me on that, because I do get kind of driven. But
Yeah. Everybody is good at one thing and some people aren't, and it's like to just kind of pay attention. And I mean, the longer I work with a team, the better I am at leading the team.
Right.
Because you get to know people, like, it's like your second family. Sometimes you spend more time with your kitchen crew than you do at home.
Right.
And that's a whole other struggle in itself. I mean, relationships suffer from this field. Your spouses, your kids. I mean, everybody kind of has to deal with the text messages and the phone calls and the shifting around and the working on a Saturday or working on the holiday. I mean, I spent most of my life working on holidays.
Right. Well, yeah. But here's the other thing, too. You were very big on helping us engineer that schedule so that we could do a rotation.
Yes.
We were able to shift each other, too. I mean,
it's important.
It really is.
Yeah.
I never really thought of it like that. I just was like, that's when you're scheduled, we just go, and as we, we work together, it's like, no, we do need to think about, we don't, not that I was insensitive or, because that's not me, or not trying to say too bad. That wasn't the case. It's just our existence was just so go.
Yeah. And it builds loyalty in a person.
It sure does.
When a person knows you care
Absolutely.
and you care about their home life as well as their work life, then they're going to be loyal to you.
Yeah.
They're going to be loyal to the place.
Right.
They're going to carry on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes you have to say no. But if there are, sometimes where you can say yes.
Yeah.
And people do appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how do you feel with where the industry is today? Like, I know we dealt with the big resignation of COVID and unfortunate transitions. Or good transitions for some, obviously, right? So.
Right. Well, I think COVID, for me, I'm working in food service and healthcare now. So, and I made that change and that transition so I could have more of a home life and, focus more on my health and my wellness and, but still run a team and still be in a kitchen, know. But for us, COVID was very scary. We lost people, not on my team, but in the facility.
Yeah.
And it brings on a whole different level of empathy and compassion. And, it's not even just all about the food at that time.
Yeah.
It's sad seeing families come to windows to say goodbye to their loved ones. It's just it's heart-wrenching,
Yeah,
and
sure.
in the midst of it all, we're still a team, we're still running a kitchen, and we still have to feed everybody, and so for us, it brought on a lot of that, which was very difficult. Nobody took a break during COVID. We all worked straight through it, and for the restaurant industry, it just was sad.
It was very sad.
It was sad not to be able to go out and enjoy a dinner, you can get takeout, but nothing's as good as coming right from the kitchen, right to your plate,
Yeah, you're going into a to-go box.
Yeah. Right. So it was sad, the whole entertainment aspect, of just not being able to socialize and congregate even over a meal. And, what it did to a lot of restaurants.
Shutting them down.
Closed
that
a lot
was really
of restaurants.
Tragic. Sure.
So tragic. And then now I think the biggest struggle now is the food cost.
Well, yeah, with everything, the prices going up, how do you do
hard.
It
now? Like I cooked the other night, I made a risotto, I made some beautiful, chicken wrapped in prosciutto and asparagus. And, for one meal, just for, my family, which is, 5 people, that cost me well over $100 and something.
Yeah, it's
That's one meal, and I purchased for a facility and same thing. Like, the food cost is the hugest struggle right now that I have, because I like quality, I like quality.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
And baking is such a struggle.
Yeah.
Like from scratch baking, eggs, butter, milk, cream, flour, sugar. It's all so expentive now.
Yeah.
So for me, because I do cakes on the side too.
Yeah. Which are awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you better believe I do.
I made one this morning. I made a unicorn, or not a unicorn, My Little Pony this morning.
Oh, very nice. That's great.
So the food cost for me, it's a struggle. I think a lot of people, it's staffing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't really have a problem with staffing. I have a really great team, and pretty much every kitchen I've worked in. Yeah. I even worked for a correctional facility, and every team I've had has been great.
Yeah.
And some I've had to make changes,
right,
to create that team. But once I created it, I was good,
Yeah.
But for me, I think the food cost is a concern.
It's the financial side of
Yeah.
And that's hard. I mean, there are, a lot of kitchens dealing with, staffing challenges and things like that too. I mean, there's a lot of career changes that happen. It was really tragic on supply chain to everything, but the staffing side is very hard. I mean, I'm glad people are able to say, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to transition. But I think, and we're also looking at technology. I mean, AI is involved now with certain things. There's menu creation you can use it for. And Johnny Humble, he's a general manager now. I think it's up at Deer Mountain Inn, or I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But anyways, one night when we were working together, he's like, hey, Jim, take a look at this. And he showed me this menu that he basically had AI do.
Wow. And
I'm looking at it and I'm like, that actually looks workable.
Yeah.
Come on, man, or now you've got it where they can, make pizzas or drop the fryer basket or flip the burgers.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty crazy.
It is kind of nuts, but
the creative aspect is gone. I mean, I think, a lot of times, like an artist too, like they need to spend time in their studio, right? And that's where they come up with their masterpieces. Well, it's the same with the kitchen.
Yeah.
If you haven't spent time, in a kitchen, I mean, how are you going to create those masterpieces?
And that's where I'm hoping that'll never change. I can understand that we need to evolve ourselves, but I pray that never goes away.
I hope so too. So. And the different things, that, how we differ as like the United States and Europe.
Sure.
What we do to our food compared to some other places.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing.
It's scary to me. Yeah.
And I think we can understand that coming from farming families and, seeing that as chefs, seeing the complex ag system and the industrial food system that, we've needed it. I mean, we have to feed the masses. And so, but it really, like I mentioned before, in that, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So it is hard to go to do the local and regional. It's there, thank God there are avenues, but it is evolving as well. So hopefully we can kind of make some curb corrections at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely.
Any like kind of memories at all?
Our wave?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Our roller coaster ride way.
Yeah, that was always fun. As a chef, you go in and you have a discussion with a box of broccoli or something, maybe.
The walk-in. The walk-in is where you usually vent it out.
Yeah.
That's where I vent it out.
Yeah, that's a great spot right there.
Soundproof.
Yeah, soundproof. Yes, exactly.
That's why we go there.
Yeah, there we go. Well, and we also, and again, it is kind of going back to with an executive sous chef. I think it's, we had those moments where we're kind of talking through some strategic, in-depth planning and some frustrating moments, and we could kind of share more. And I think that's where, my thing was always when we need that minute to step aside so that when we're back in the kitchen or we're doing and we're jamming with the team, we have our directives and our thoughts, but trying to buffer the team from feeling that.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, but it's, that's where I've enjoyed, as we've worked together too. So it's been good. Yeah.
Yeah. And we lost some people, on our team, and it's like a family.
It is.
It really is, even if you don't particularly like each other, you're still part of the family.
Right.
And you still have to get along. And, there was, some situations sometimes, where I had to be the dad or or the mom or both, or you had to be the dad and I had to be the mom. And, you had to straighten things out. I mean, we had a large team. Mm-hmm. I think at one time we had almost 48 people.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I remember because I did the schedule.
Yes.
And that was always fun. I think we used to call it the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. Oh, and it was constant, But I think, working through those things and as we had our meetings and, we had our meetings, that we really kind of got into some concerns or, and it's not, again, with an executive sous chef, I envision that position as you're going to step into my role. Mm-hmm. So I am more intimate with my these real concerns. I mean, we may discuss it with the sous chefs or the chef de parties, and they may get, a piece X through Z or something, but for us in that, as we kind of disseminate that energy and work a process, I really enjoyed that too with you, that we were able to get a game plan and be honest and then hit that kitchen running. Yeah. Sometimes we're doing it in the walk-in and talking through stuff, but, but I think it's important that that you're really honest with your team, and we've always done that, and then we had, with our weekly chef meetings, we do the round table. Yeah.
And working with you, Jim, you always brought new things, like new ingredients. I mean, you had some of the chefs out foraging at one point. Yeah. Ramps, springtime, ramp season, mushrooms, anything we could get our hands on, even local, artisans that were selling different things, different products, fire cider. Oh, yeah. You brought it all to us. And that's part of leadership, too, is you have to bring the ammo. Right, you got to bring something for everybody to, really brew up that creativity. Right. And then from there, it just takes off.
Well, yeah, it's
just
huge.
From a pile of ingredients.
Well, and that's where, even like going to the farms and picking, or as we were coming back, it's important. And that's where I think developing a system where we could get everybody out. We could go to the Boston Seafood Expo. We could, take some of them and rotate it through. Okay, you guys, why don't you two work together, do the menu and what have you, or
the oysters.
Oh yeah,
the Boston oysters.
Oh, that was over at was that the old ye old?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's right at Quincy
the
Market,
oyster house.
Right?
Yeah, yes, right. Yes. The old oyster house right there.
Yes.
And we're at that old soapstone bar and we're all popping oysters and we're going down to Quincy Market and we're eating, but we went to the food show, or we're going over to Foxwoods and going to a vendor appreciation, thing. So we, there's some fun we had with that too. Some things they appreciated us, and that vendor had a food show as well. It was work related, but they, there was some dancing and some fun on the dance floor, and
a horse head.
That was always a good one. Yes. And by the way, that was one of those paper mache horse heads, by the way.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, they were all on the dance floor.
Yeah, it was. But
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I remember too. What was that? Remember Fuddruckers?
Yes.
We got out of there and
you're like
hamburgers.
hamburgers.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, it was horrible. I'm like going along, and you're like, oh yeah, you got Fuddruckers. I'm like, oh wow, I'm a West Coast guy. I'm like, what, Fuddruckers? Yeah, bring it, bro.
We had to work for that though. We had to go far. We didn't realize how far it was. Yeah, it wasn't me.
No, you sent me. I went over and got it. I'm like, you're like, yeah, go get the Fuddruckers. I'm like, oh yeah, what do you want? And,
that's right.
Man, that was like walking 4 miles. That place is huge.
When you got the craving for a burger.
Oh, it was,
3 a.m.,
Oh, well, yeah, and then 5 a.m. I think I was calling you to say, hey, that wasn't a good idea. So, it's what we do in the industry, but
those things for inspiration are actually, very important.
Yeah, and I have to say, our companies were great for that, and trusting us. And did we have fun? We had a lot of fun. But, I think both of us, we always kept our eye on everybody. We made sure that we were good. We followed up, and we had a blast. And I want them to do that. I want them to sit down. It was like, I think I did some certificates too over there at with Dan Barber to have the team go to dinner, where it was like, okay, AM sous chef, you go with the PM sous chef, we'll figure it out. But I need you two to step out of the kitchen just one night, have a memory, and talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes it's hard for, mom and pop and other businesses to plan that. Very grateful that we were able to build that in the budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I slid that in there, but But,
it still mattered. It mattered.
It did, and, building a library for the team as well for front and back of the house where they can come in and get books that would help them, that they could check it out like a library. So there's a variety of things that we did. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was even doing, me and Billy did volunteer cooking classes at the jail and at the correctional school.
Talk about that, because you actually helped them to support their situation or kind of influence, right?
Well, what happened was I got involved with correctional, juvenile facility over in New York State. And I was doing volunteer cooking classes for them. I think they were monthly. And, with one of the other chefs at Canyon Ranch. And we really enjoyed it. And the kids really enjoyed it. They really embraced it. They learned a lot. I mean, some of these kids didn't even know that their vegetables grew in a garden. They thought they grew in the grocery store or just, they're just in the grocery store because they were a lot of city kids. But from that program, there was a man who was involved with that program that also got us involved with Berkshire County House of Correction. Right. And we did some classes up there as well, some volunteer cooking classes that were for inmates that were close to being released, and they were looking for skills on how to cook on a budget, how to cook for their families on a budget. And, just reintroduce nutrition into their lifestyles,
And they were growing stuff too, correct? Is that?
Not at the time.
Not at the time? Okay.
They may have had a small, community garden or something like that. But the sheriff there really enjoyed what we were doing. And we did it for a while, but then we had to discontinue. And I think they kept building that. And they now have aquatic gardens up there that they grow all kinds of vegetables. And I think I read a thing in the newspaper in the Berkshire Eagle about how they support pantries with all the food that they're growing up there.
Right, which is really amazing.
Yeah. So, it's amazing. I mean, I would like to think that maybe, our whole inspiration with the cooking classes may have helped, foster that. Sure. I can't say for sure, but I think, food as therapy is an important thing. I mean, even at the facility I'm at, we do cooking classes monthly. Right. And our residents really enjoy it. Sometimes we'll use recipes they had from their childhood or their life. I bought a adult easy bake oven. Oh. So some of our memory care residents can enjoy fresh baked cookies, pies, cakes. Yep. And they can watch it bake. This is a big easy bake oven for adults. And it's been, really great. Just the smells of fresh baked cookies and pies and cakes and bread. Oh, yeah. It's comforting to them on a different level. So it's that's one thing people can connect over is food. Yeah, and, absolutely. Incorporating food as therapy, I think is just, it's an important thing. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, and I think that's where with the philosophy of Canyon Ranch, food is nourishment for mind, body, and soul, right? What you put on that plate. So I think carrying that forward, and no matter what you do, but I think that's, an example of you talking, about Scott, does he ever really realize the impact he's had? Well, my question is, does Laura Lipoufski ever realize the influence she's had? And my same answer to both of you is probably not, because real leaders, you don't worry about if everyone's noticed. What you worry about is taking care of your team and being an impact player in the game naturally. Right. So I would say probably not, but I'm saying thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Yeah. Because you're part of that. Well, yeah. Thanks, You could say Jim Massey, Scott Uline, Laura Lipoufski. And there you go. Sounds like a food truck. Yeah. So we did that too. Yeah, we did do that. Oh my gosh, that was New York City. Oh my gosh. Oh, the stuff I drove the food. I drove the box truck. You drove. I drove the box truck. That was crazy too. Yes. Nobody would drive. The whole team, everybody. Nobody would drive. No. I said, Scott, I'll drive. He always knew. He always gave me the task that nobody else was going to do. Because Laura gets it done. Yeah. That's right. I drove that box truck into Manhattan with Nick Colleen. Yep. And we pulled up to the address. Yeah. Don't even remember what address he said. When I knock on the truck 3 times, pull away. So when you see me, pull up, When I knock 3 times, pull away. So we sat there, white-knuckled, people honking at us, yelling at us, swearing at us, their hands
That's
out
the
the
greeting,
window.
it's
and I just sat there stone-faced, ignored it all, and waited for those 3 knocks. I heard bang, 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 and then I just pulled out, and we drove right back.
Yeah. I mean, if that can sum up Laura, that is... it will get done. It will always get done. And again, that's paying appreciation of managing up, down, and all of us around. So, all right. Well, Laura, thank you.
Thank you
so much for coming in
and
sharing this stuff.
Anytime.
Maybe we can have you back on again.
Part 2.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I know, Jackson.
We could talk for 3 days.
Yeah, I think this is...
we could, yeah. And real quick, Jackson, can you just throw a shout out, because we do have some listeners in the LA area, about your big thing?
Sure. So Jim is my biggest fan, and that's why I'm engineering his podcast, performing a show in LA on January 26th at the Mint nightclub, and I'm going to be in LA going to NAMM, which is like a music gear convention.
Very cool.
So I'll be there for that.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys have the equivalent in your industry, right?
Oh yeah. There's
So yeah, I'll be performing a show Friday, January 26th at the Mint, and tickets are on my website, jacksonwhalen.com.
Awesome. Get out there, see the Magic Man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Jackson, thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right, everyone. That is a wrap. You can check us out if you like that. Subscribe. Also, the Instagram, Chef Massey. Let's keep it simple. chefmassey.com. Have a good one. Bye for now.